welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Charlotte. I am a second year nursing student at AUT, and just recently I have completed my first ever clinical placement, and I just really wanted to share the experience with you guys. So this is going to be quite a long video because I have literally 5 weeks worth of experiences and memories to share with you guys. So there will be timestamps just in case you're wanting to like skip around and all of that. But before we dive into anything, don't forget to like and subscribe and do all of that good stuff. But I am super excited to like talk about this with you guys because it was a really great experience for me. So let's just dive on it. So just a quick word of warning before we start. I am asthmatic and I am currently recovering from a cold. It really took it out of me, so my voice is still a little bit grotty and disgusting, and I'm really sorry. Okay, so let's set the scene. 9 weeks ago, I got a notification from my university telling me that my first ever placement had been organised, and this notification told me where I was going to be going, for how long, all of that jazz. I was put on Auckland City Hospital, which is a little bit far away from where I live, but that's okay. And I was put on Ward 63, which is a general medicine and infectious diseases ward. I did not get this cold from the hospital. 5 weeks I went on a COVID ward, influenza, rooms and stuff. Nothing. Did not get sick once. And then the week after my placement, my sister gives me a cold. But anyway, so general medicine and infectious diseases ward. I was going to be there for 5 weeks, and it would be alternating between morning and evening shifts. So 1 week I'd be doing 7 a.m. until 3 p.m. and then the next week I'd be doing 2:30 p.m. until 11 p.m. So the way that placements at AUT work is that you are given a nurse preceptor who pretty much takes you under their wing and you like follow them around for the duration of your placement. However, because in New Zealand we have a nursing shortage, a critical nursing shortage, and everywhere's really understaffed, and also because nurses work in shifts, what ends up happening in reality is that you end up getting put with multiple different nurses throughout the duration of your placements. I think I had 7 or 8 different nurses that I followed during my placement. You also get given a clinical educator, which is a nurse who also works for AUT, the university, and they come and check on you every week, once a week, and they just give you feedback. They make a plan with you, they watch as you interact with patients and carry out skills, and they're pretty much just like your support person that kind of guides you through placement. Each week you're expected to improve from the previous week, and that's pretty much how the placement is set up in a nutshell at AUT. So if you're a nursing student at AUT and you're watching this, that kind of just gives you a general idea of how placements work, because oh my god, my first day I had not been told anything about placement. I had no idea what it was going to be like, I had no idea what was going to happen, and it just meant that my first week of placement was pretty miserable because of how stressed I was. I had nothing and I was trying to get into like the groove of things, but I also felt like I was falling, and it just, yeah, my first week wasn't great just because I had no idea what was going on. So hopefully this can be the video that I never had for you guys, and maybe you'll feel a little bit more at ease about placement. That's actually a really great segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which is my first day and my first week. On my first day, I like showed up to the hospital in my crisp black AUT uniform, and then the security guard, because the hospital has like a security guard in the morning, guard kind of like put us all in this corner in the entranceway. She's like, you just wait there until your lecture is ready. So we're just like waiting as a group, huddled in a corner, waiting until our lecture theatre opened up. We had to go up to level 8. So level 8 is where all of the Auckland City Hospital lecture theatres are. So we were like waiting there. The lecturer was late, so we were all stressed.
Like, oh my god, what if our charge nurses are going to tell us off being late to the ward?
He finally gets there, and we have like an orientation, and the orientation pretty much talks about what's expected of you, a welcome to the hospital, and then after that we went down to reception and we got our ID photos taken. I was not happy with my ID photo. I felt like I looked like a pebble. I felt like I looked like a pebble. I'm not happy about it, but... And that was my ID photo for 5 weeks. It was horrible. Not the end of the world, I know, but I just... As soon as I realised we're getting our ID photos taken, I was like, oh my god. And then after that, you head straight up to your ward. I introduced myself to my charge nurse. I said hello. She assigned me to my first ever nurse preceptor. And then it began. My first placement began. So my first day, I kind of felt like I was thrown into the deep end a little bit because what happened was my nurse preceptor allowed me to like watch her take vital signs on a patient, just one patient. And then she was like,
I need to go and record these observations. So can you please take the vital signs for this patient?
And I've only been there like 15 minutes. I felt really uncomfortable about it because I had no idea. Like I didn't know anything. I also didn't want to seem like unwilling to learn or to do things. I was like, yeah, sure. And then I was kind of like left to my own devices for 15 minutes to take the observations of this patient. I was so anxious until the nurse came back, and then she like took me away and she let me watch her do meds. She was actually a really lovely preceptor. She like answered all of my questions. I had so many questions. I thought I was being really annoying, but she answered all of my questions. She helped me with medical abbreviations and showed me where everything was. But my first day, I was like 15 minutes on the ward and already been told to go off and do things, which was a bit of a shock because I was kind of under the impression for some reason that my first day would just be me watching and just seeing how things worked, but that was not the case. No, the case was that as soon as you got there, you were doing stuff. At least that was my experience. It was good because I got experience quicker, but at the same time, like, I was so anxious. I was so scared and I was already doing things. I was like, they should not be letting me do this. I don't know anything. My first day was actually fine. I was just really stressed, but my third day though, oh my god. So my third day, I was with another nurse and she told me to go off and do obs on this one patient, but she's like, but you can't take his radial pulse, you have to take his heart rate apically, which in theory I knew how to do, but I just had never done it before. But again, I didn't want to seem like a wuss, so I was like, yeah, that's fine, I will do it. So I go up to this patient and he's sitting in a chair by the window. So I like move in and then I end up getting wedged between his chair and his bed, and then I move the vital signs machine like in front of me, so I'm kind of like cornered against the wall, the patient on his chair, the bed, and then this vital signs machine. I take all of his obs and then I'm about to start trying to take his apical heart rate when all of a sudden this doctor comes up and he's just like, he just watches me for a minute and then he's like,
is it alright if I just like talk to this patient while you keep doing?
And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And he like pulls the curtain and he starts talking, and at this stage I start getting very flustered for 2 reasons. The first is because I now have to take an apical heart rate in front of a doctor, and second, there's also this doctor in particular. So embarrassing. This doctor was really attractive and I was like trapped in between everything. In my head I was like, surely he won't be that long, like he just needs to talk to the patient, it won't be that long, so I'll just wait. So I ended up standing there awkwardly for 5 minutes. It was the longest 5 minutes of my entire life. He looks at me again and he's like, you okay? And at this stage I am red as a strawberry, I am sweating, I am so stressed, and I was just like, yeah, no, I'm fine. The problem is I need to take an apical heart rate and I've never done it before. And he was like, oh, he was so sweet. He was so nice to me. He was like, oh no, that's fine, I will show you how to do it. So then he like shows me how to do it. He like finds the apical heart rate. He's like listening to it. And then he goes, okay, you have a go now. I look at the patient and the patient's like, it's fine. So I like do exactly what he did. I like listen for the apical heart rate and I can't hear anything, but I don't want to look like an idiot. So I'm just like standing there nodding my head. And he's like, oh, can you hear it? And I said, yeah. So embarrassing. Anyway, and then I was like, okay, thank you so much. I'll be going now. I've done everything. And then I go to move the vital signs machine and it catches on the patient's chair and I like trip over it. Oh, it was so embarrassing. Like, it's really funny actually. Like, it genuinely is really funny, but at the time I felt horrible. I felt so bad. Like, I felt so horrible. Like, when I got home When I got home, I just felt like such a loser, and I cried for like an hour because I just felt so embarrassed and so horrible, and all I wanted was for my mum to be here and like tell me that I was being silly. And that actually wasn't that bad. The rest of my week was pretty horrible because of that, because I just felt so silly and like I shouldn't be there. I had a lot of self-doubt in my first week. So throughout my placement, there were a lot of moments like that where I felt a lot of doubt and self-doubt about my abilities and whether or not nursing was right for me. Yeah, so I felt particularly insecure about my abilities to do vital signs efficiently and quickly, because I realised on placement, I was being given 2 or 3 patients to look after, and I was struggling to do their vital signs quickly enough before we started medication rounds. And it just kind of hit me that when I'm like a registered nurse, I'm going to be looking after 5 or 6 or even more patients, and that you have to get everything done quickly. So that was like a main source of my self-doubt, like whether I was cut out for the job, whether I'm efficient enough to do it, whether I have what it takes to become a good nurse. And I still do doubt myself sometimes about that, but I think particularly on placement in those first couple of weeks when I was kind of getting into the groove of things, whenever I did something wrong or made a mistake or was slow at something, I was particularly hard on myself because I kept thinking, you know, when you're a registered nurse, you can't be like this, you can't do this. And I think I was hard on myself because I'm not a registered nurse yet, I'm a student. Like, I am allowed to make mistakes at this stage. Whenever I did make a mistake, it just kind of fueled the fire a bit more, and all of my self-doubts will kind of like bubble to the surface. Like, and it was one time in my second week, I had a patient whose oxygen saturations went to 92%, when in the past they had been consistently above 95%. So this wasn't normal. And I made the mistake of not telling my nurse until I was documenting everything. She was not happy with me, and for good reason, but I think that I was harder on myself to a more severe degree than necessary, because like I made one mistake and instantly my brain was like,
see, this is why you're not cut out to be a nurse.
And then for the rest of the week, I was just kind of more subdued and very self-conscious about what I was doing, and it felt really bad. Hi guys, this is editing Charlotte here. I just want to quickly say I had a clip that was deleted for some reason where I kind of explained after this clip how even though making mistakes felt really bad and I didn't like making mistakes, and they made me feel very self-conscious and just horrible, I also wanted to point out that being on placement was the best place for me to make mistakes, and I'm really happy that I did make the mistakes because I made a commitment to myself to learn from them. So for example, in this oxygen saturation incident, it was really good, even though it was like a defining moment for me. It was great that I made the mistake, because in the following 3 weeks of placement, I had a couple of other patients whose oxygen saturations fell, and in those situations I knew exactly what to do. I knew that I had to double check the oxygen sats using the ears, different fingers, different machines. I knew I had to alert my nurse. I knew that I had to continue monitoring them more frequently. Like I knew what to do, and it made me a better student, and it will make me a good nurse. So even though the previous clip is like me being all like, I made a mistake, it was a good thing. And the placement setting was actually, I'm so grateful to have been able to make those mistakes while on placement, just because I learned so much from them, and that's all I really wanted to say. So I do want to say though, placement was also amazing because I got to learn all of these amazing skills that we didn't really go over in lab sessions. One of my favourite things to do was spiking and priming an IV bag, an IV line. In your second year at AUT, you're not allowed to push IV fluids, but you are allowed to prime the IV bags, and it was just fabulous. I loved doing them so much, and I got to do them. I got to do insulin and subcut injections. That was really cool. And blood sugar levels, you know, where you like prick their fingers and you put the blood into the machine, and tells you what their blood sugar's like. That was amazing. Yeah, and daily cares. So things like showering patients, feeding patients, and even the more like uncomfortable activities like changing somebody and changing their nappy and stuff. Because of the ward that I was on, I got heaps of experience with all of that, and that was really good. Because as I said before, I was on a general medicine ward, and typically the age demographic with general medicine are adults who are 60 years old and above. So you've got like a lot of elderly people who are unwell, and they actually genuinely need a lot of help with daily care such as showering. So I got so much experience doing stuff like that, and that was great. That does also kind of remind me of a more sobering experience that I had on the ward. So because the ward typically has older people who are very, very unwell, they don't always recover from their illness. And in my 3rd week, I had my first patient pass away, unfortunately. Like, I'm not stupid. Like, I was prepared for patients to die, because I'm more than aware that when you are very unwell, especially if you've been hospitalized with whatever condition you've got, you're not always going to recover. You're not always going to make it through. So I wasn't unprepared for the event of a patient passing away, but it was still something that's going to stick with me forever, particularly because I haven't really been around death that much, and I have never seen a dead person. I haven't really had a lot of family members or friends or whatever pass away, so I don't have a lot of experience with it, and I think that's another reason why like it was such a big thing for me. So pretty much what had happened is I had never looked after this gentleman before. He was new to the ward. Me and my nurse were assigned to him at the start of our shift, and already he was like rapidly deteriorating. I went off to the bathroom. When I came back, my nurse was like, oh, he's passed away. And it was just a huge shock for me, because I had only been gone for 5 minutes. When I had left to go to the bathroom, I could see him through his room, because he had his own room. I could see that he was breathing still. And then I was gone for 5 minutes. By the time I get back, he had stopped breathing, and the house officer had declared time of death. And then me and my nurse had to go straight in and start giving him his final cares. And it was just, everything happened so quickly that you don't have a lot of time to process what is happening. As soon as I got back, we were inside the room. You clean them, you give them their final bed wash, you put them in like new clothes and like a new pad. You take out all of their IV lines, you take off their plasters, and you just talk to them. It's actually not that bad when you're in the room with them, because they just kind of look like they're sleeping. It's very peaceful. What was horrible was, you know, when you finished looking after them and you said your last goodbye to them, and then you step out of that room, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's heaps of people around, and everyone is living, and everything is very vibrant. Everyone's chatting, running around, and you've just come from that experience where it's just been very quiet, and you're processing the fact that this patient has passed away, and then you have to go back out and look after all of these other patients. And like, normally you get given time to debrief, but because of how understaffed they are, you don't really have a lot of time to sit for a minute and kind of process what's happened, because you've got all of these other patients that need you to look after them. You don't really get to process anything until you get home. So I do want to say that even though experiences like that were really quite sad, I'm also very grateful that I had those experiences and that I was part of those experiences, because they were experiences that made me feel less like a student and more like a nurse. And this is going to sound really dumb, but almost like I was doing real work and like I was making a difference, which is what I chose nursing for in the first place, if I want to make a difference. But just for perspective though, like, I work part-time at a supermarket, and I am more than aware that it is essential work and it is real work. However, in my head, I have a perception of it, for me, that it is like a high school job. Like, it's not so serious, even though it is my main source of income. It just feels like a high school job to me, and that's because I've been doing it since I was in high school. So forever to me, it will be a high school job, right? But this was just so different and I just felt like real work. I just felt very grown up and I feel like I learned so much from it. I gained so much from my placement. Yeah, and even though I had a lot of moments where I felt really unsure about myself and uncertain about whether it was the right choice for me, overall it was just incredible. Like, I saw so much improvement from my first week to my last week. Like, in my last week I felt a lot more independent and proactive. I kind of knew the drill of things. Like, I was able just to get stuff done, and I really actually, I don't mean to sound full of myself, but I really actually did impress myself in my last week. Like, I kind of just took charge a little bit more, and it was just a really good week for me. My last week was really good. I felt accomplished. And this also sounds kind of dumb, but I've always felt kind of childish. Like, I feel very childish sometimes, right? And I don't mean like, I mean like I feel like a child sometimes. And after these 5 weeks had gone by, like, I still do feel a little bit childish, and I definitely am slightly immature. However, I feel more grown up now. Like, part of me has maybe changed a little bit, and I think that's, as I say, just because those 5 weeks of placement kind of exposed me a lot to the realities of our world and of life, if we want to get really deep into it. It sounds dumb, but it's also genuinely how I feel. I feel like a changed woman. I feel very different than I did 5 weeks ago, and I still feel apprehensive about doing stuff, but I just feel less so. I don't know how to describe it. So I'm still really uncertain about what type of nursing I want to do. Being on the Gen Med ward was the perfect introduction to nursing for me, I think, because I got to see a little bit of everything. I got all of these amazing skills. I had a great time. Everyone was so lovely. I got to work in a hospital ward for 5 weeks. It was the perfect introduction to nursing for me. However, I'm not too sure if it's necessarily what I want to do. Like, I don't know if bedside nursing in a hospital ward is necessarily for me. As in, I had some amazing experiences, but I'm not too sure if that's what I want my life to look like, and I don't know if that's what I want to be doing every day. I'm still very curious about OR nursing, like theatre and surgery, and also community nursing, because I kind of want to live in the countryside and like away from the city, and I feel like community nursing is a great way to kind of allow that dream to flourish. So I don't know, community nursing and pediatrics, because I love children, so that would be fun, but I don't know yet. And I'm just not sure what to do. And I think that part of the reason why I have a lot of doubts sometimes about whether I made the right choice and whether nursing is right for me is because I don't have like a clear goal in mind about where I want to go. On the flip side though, I'm also aware, and this thought is greatly comforting to me, I'm also aware that nursing has so many avenues and opportunities to go down and to take. So I am completely 110% certain that there is something out there that will be perfect for me, but I just haven't met it yet. So whenever I do feel like, oh, did I make the right choice studying nursing, I just tell myself, yes, you did. You don't know it yet, but you have, because something will come along and it'll be perfect for you. Overall, Ward 63 and my placement experience in general was just incredible. It was definitely a roller coaster ride that left me very sleep deprived, but I don't think that I would change a second of it. Like, even the horrible moments, I feel like I learned a lot from them. All of the nurses and the doctors were super amazing and so helpful. They made me feel really at home and very welcome. Kind of felt part of the team, so thank you to them. And also it makes me really excited for my next lot of placements this coming semester. So I think I've got 2 in semester 4. So I think I've got 1 for mental health and 1 for disability. One of them is 3 weeks and one of them is 4 weeks. So they're a bit shorter, but I'm so excited for them. I can't wait. And for all of you AUT nursing students that are out there that are watching this, who are maybe feeling nervous or a little bit apprehensive about your lot of placements, just know that you're going to have a great time. You really, really are. Like, yes, you're going to have some moments which are going to kind of grind you down and you're going to struggle a little bit, but you are going to learn so much. You're going to have the time of your life and you are going to have experiences that will change your life and change your perspective on things a little bit. So be very, very excited. My last words of advice for your first placement, or for any placement really, is just go with the flow. Try not to stress too much, just go with the flow. Do what they tell you to do. Just kind of take it all in, go with the flow. Ask heaps of questions, because no question is a dumb question when you know nothing about how a hospital works. Like, I knew nothing, so I would ask like the most obvious questions, but they were good questions because I learned something from them, even if they came across as kind of dumb to other people. I learned stuff from them. So ask heaps and heaps of questions. Ask all of the questions, no matter how silly you feel asking them. Just ask questions all the time to everybody, and also take every single opportunity that comes your way. Just snatch in, because by asking to do stuff, that was how I was able to have a lot of amazing experiences while in placement. Like, I got to see a CT scan, I got to see an ultrasound, I got to take patients down to the transition lounge, I got to do so many things. I learned how to spike an IV bag because I asked if I could do it, and it was my favorite thing to do. But my point is, just any opportunity that you see coming towards you, you just snatch it, just take it and hold on to it and learn from it and experience it. Go with the flow, ask all of your questions and snatch every opportunity that comes your way. And you'll have an amazing placement. I promise you, you'll have such a good time. Anyway, guys, that was a really long video. I'm so sorry. That was really super duper long. Thank you so much for sticking along with me, for watching, for listening to me share all of the highs and the lows about my 5-week placement experience at Ward 63. Thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, do all of that good stuff. I will see you super soon with a new video, but until then, I hope you have a wonderful day and a fabulous week. Bye!
It's rated X. That means you're extra, extra.